Orpheus, Eurydice cried, what madness has destroyed my wretched self and you? Step carefully, friends. Follow close at my heels. Trust me to hold back thorny stems that scratch shins. Lift low, eye-gouging branches. Sidestep loose stones and muddied holes threatening dryad ankles. Do be careful. Use your hands if they help. Move slowly over fallen trees, their twisted roots. Let me show you what I found in these dark woods. I'm a lot of things. I think I'm a mother first and foremost. I never thought that would be a way I would describe myself, but I am. I have 2 kids, and they occupy a lot of my mental space and my heart space. I work at a college. I'm an academic administrator and professor of English. I teach Asian American literature and late 19th, early 20th century American lit. Um, and I oversee academic affairs at the small college where I work. And I'm also a writer. I'm a poet. It took me a while to be able to say that because I wasn't trained as a poet. Um, and I started writing just a little over a decade ago. But I've been pretty fortunate and I've had some success. And so I guess I can call myself a poet now. I grew up in rural Maryland, and I grew up just south of the Mason-Dixon line. My parents met when my father served in the military. And so they moved to a very small town, a town of less than 3,000, and that's where I grew up. We lived in a pretty isolated area, so I read a lot. That was the thing that I loved to do. We had a little library in our town, and I read almost every book in that library. And they were very nice to me. They let me keep the books for a long time, and I'm sure I racked up some overdue fees, but they never made me pay. But it was a quiet life. I knew I was a writer from very early on. It was reading and writing about what I'd read was the easiest thing I'd done. I really loved school. I loved math and science, but reading and writing about what I'd read was actually the thing I enjoyed most of all, and it came the easiest to me. So I guess I've been a writer my whole life, but I never thought of myself as a creative writer. Lots of my friends and colleagues took creative writing classes when they were studying literature, and I never did. I never had an interest in it until I wrote my first poem, and then it was just intoxicating. So generally, when I start writing, I pick up on a poem that I've been working on maybe the day before, and I go through, see if I want to make any language changes. Sometimes I'll organize the poem in a different way. I might move it from 2-line couplets to maybe quatrain or tercet, see how the shape on the page, you know, changes how the poem might be received. Sometimes I work on language, finding better verbs than the flat ones that I've used already. And then when I want to work on a new poem, I'll generally start writing. I'll see I'll write the first line, see what syllables I land on, and then see if I can maintain that syllable count. Just gives me some kind of constraint that I can work through while I'm creating.
So while you're doing the thinking about your syllables and everything, like what are you counting them on the table? Is it more so in your head or?
I always tap them out on my laptop. So it's one of the reasons why I like this working on this particular machine because it gives me a nice space to tap out the syllables. And I must look crazy when I'm sitting in a bar and I'm tapping out syllables and then writing and then tapping. So, but it's, it keeps people from talking to me. In my work, one of the things I like to do, which surprises some of my friends, is I like to find something in nature and compare it to something in human relationships. My friends find it amusing because I am not a lover of nature. I'm not a hiker. I'm not, a mountain climber or anything like that. But I like to understand how animals work and what they might teach us about human relationships. So one of the poems in my book is called Sting, and it's about these yellow jackets that infested the walls of my house, and how I would walk into my son's room and I'd find them dead on the floor. I'd find, at first, there were dozens of them dead on the floor. And then, so I would try to remove them before he woke up because I didn't want him to be scared by them. And then the poem becomes a kind of reflection on how the queen cares for cares for the bees, and then how those bees leave. They go out into the world as workers, and it's a reflection on, you know, how it makes a parent feel to have your child leave you. It was the year before he went off to college, and that was it was just a profound shift in our relationship and in our lives. And so that's typical of the kinds of poems I like to write. I like to observe something natural and then to compare it to something completely unlike it. It's a lot of fun to do that. Hambidge is it's just a wonderful community of artists, and I love that I can be productive here, but I can also rest and recharge. It's a great gift to be here. I meet people who are just so incredibly passionate about their work, whatever that work is. And that's something that, when you meet other artists, they're different from other folks you meet in the world. They just approach the world differently. And for me, it's really important to recognize you have community, because making art, writing, it can be so lonely sometimes. And to meet other people who are struggling with those same challenges, that's incredible for me. And the solitude uh, here, the natural beauty, is something that I can't recreate in my home environment. Um, and it actually pushes me to stop, to slow down, which I can't do in my, everyday life. So you know, I'm so grateful for the space, for the food. We have somebody cooks for me every night. That's fantastic. I love just going into the local community. That's always interesting to me, to meet people from a small town and to talk with them. So yeah, it's a gift. I love being here. For a lot of artists, they want their words to speak, to be, to touch somebody after they're gone. Actually, that's not important to me. I want people to remember me as a good friend, as somebody who cared for other people in a way that was helpful to them. And maybe that's what my poems do too. I think one of the reasons why people enjoy my work is because it connects to something that they're feeling. I took a workshop with Ada Limon in Provincetown some years ago, and she said, the job of a poet is to take what's in the heart and to put it on the page. And that's not an easy thing to do. But I think if you achieve that, if you can make that work, then the people who read that work can feel those things too, or maybe feel them in a different way. And so friendships are the same from my perspective. If you can touch somebody, if you can, show them community and support, and if when I'm gone, people say she was a really great friend, then I think that's good enough for me.
Knowing my fears, primordial, unyielding, he warned snakes coil in shadowed, cool places. To some this seemed a kindness. I once thought so too. Why don't we linger here while he moves on? Soak in the honest sun that shines on you, on me. The god Hymen predicted failure. Friends, I cannot say I wasn't warned.